Hello, guys. Welcome into the first of 3 Football Reporters episodes today. This one covering all the coaching fires. I was going to do this on Wednesday, but I wasn't home. And Thursday, we got stuck with a giant blizzard. So now, Friday, I have a chance to do this. I covered it on Tuesday when I released the video of John Gruden being the next Raiders coach. Let's talk about that for a second. So the Raiders fired Jack Del Rio after a miserable 6-10 season. An absolute regression of the Oakland Raiders that we saw this season. You know, people saying, me included, that this team could be competing for the AFC Championship game because of the talent they have on offense and the Khalil Mack on defense. The main problem is that Derek Carr regressed. The offensive line regressed. And also, another thing I want to point out is that the receivers kept dropping the ball. And I saw them play against the Patriots in Mexico City, and it was an absolute embarrassment. So they fired Del Rio, which I think was the right move. And now they're going to try to hire John Gruden. And I understand why they're doing it. It's a splash hire. They're moving to Vegas next year, and they need to sell tickets. The main problem I have with them hiring Gruden is the fact that he's been out of football for 10 years. 1. And 2, he's kind of an overrated coach. You look at his first 5 years in the league, his first 4 years in Oakland, division title, they made the playoffs every year. And then he gets traded to Tampa Bay in 2002, and they win the Super Bowl that year. Since then, no playoff wins, only 2 playoff appearances, and 3 losing seasons. The guy's an overrated coach, and I don't know, and he's been out of the game for a long time. And now you can maybe make a compilation of maybe Dick Vermeil as an example, but Dick Vermeil for the first 2 years in St. Louis was terrible. The Rams were awful those 2 years, their first 2 years there. And yet they won the Super Bowl later that year, and then he moved on to Kansas City. And Kansas City became kind of a powerhouse in the early 2000s, but they already were a good team. I don't know what John Gruden could give them. Personally, I think the main problem is the roster. And I mainly look at the defense side of the ball. They need corners. They need safeties. And Mark Davis is, kind of an idiot. With his bowl cut. Like this guy, this member of the Lucky Sperm Club, as people may call him as. Oh my God. Never seen much. Anyone here see Caddyshack? This is Spalding if he owned an NFL franchise. Except he has a bowl cut. He looks stupider, and quite frankly, doesn't look professional at all. He shows up in sweats and he looks hilariously terrible. Like, really unprofessional. So, I'm not so sure if John Gruden wants to go to that crap show in Oakland. He'll go. I heard rumors that he's going to go because they're going to give him partial ownership. Which, that's great. You're going to give partial ownership to a mediocre coach. That's a great idea. Great idea, Oakland. I'll clap for you. That's a clapper. Oh, that's fantastic. So other firings is Detroit firing the ever-so-great emotional Jim Caldwell. About time for this guy to go. This guy was a terrible coach. Terrible coach. I was calling for his head 2 years ago. And now they're finally going to fire him after missing the playoffs this season after getting eliminated by the Bengals. Again, I will point that out. If you get eliminated by the Bengals, I don't think you should be having an NFL coaching job. But I'll get to that when I get there tomorrow. Detroit is a very interesting place. They have the quarterback. I think they have offensive weapons. I certainly think they need offensive line work. Defensively, their front's a little thin, and their secondary is a little bit thin as well. So they're kind of I think it's going to be a defensive-heavy draft for the Detroit Lions. And offensive line, of course. Now, if it were me, I would consider hiring somebody like Matt Patricia here from New England. I would consider hiring, they wouldn't bring back Jim Schwartz, but it's a very interesting idea. I think Patricia, this is the most likely landing spot for him. If he's going to lead the Patriots, this is probably the most interesting one. Next to Chicago, they fired John Fox. Thank the good Lord. The conservative head coach there. And there's some good pieces in Chicago. You have Jordan Howard. You got a young quarterback in Mitchell Trubisky. You don't have an offensive line or weapons. I think that's the main problem is that they don't really have a good wide receiver to throw to for Trubisky. As for defensively, they have Akeem Hicks. They have a good front seven. And there's some sneaky good people in the secondary. I think Chicago can win a couple more games this year if they hire the right coach. They're rumored to hire either Josh McDaniels or Dave Toub. I don't think McDaniels would go because based on the fact that they're keeping the GM, and Chicago's just a mess. It's a mess, mostly in the front office and in the ownership. I would try to bring in McDaniels. I don't think he'll go because Ryan Pace is still there. So I don't know. Maybe a David Toub out of Kansas City. I hear the rumors that he might be going there, but who knows? Next is the Giants. Now, this to me is the best job out there. They fired McAdoo. Thank God. He sucked. He sucks. Holy crap. And they fired the GM, which was I think was the best thing with Mike Reese firing him. Now, New York is probably the most talented team out of every one of these teams that have the coaching available. They have a good receiving core. They have some good defensive pieces. Janoris Jenkins, Snacks Harrison, Olivier Vernon. They have some good defensive... Oh, and Lionel Collins. They have some really good defensive pieces. The problem is they have no offensive line and no running game. So, I would again, another spot for McDaniels to go to. This probably would have been the one. And I think this would be one that Bill would give him the green light to go because Bill, of course, has a good history with the Giants. And the biggest problem with me and the Giants is the fact they already hired the new GM first. So that's a big problem. That's a huge, huge issue with the Giants. They already hired the GM first before they hired that coach. But New York still has some good pieces. They still have a Super Bowl winning quarterback for at least 2 more years. They need to draft offensive linemen, and they need to draft a quarterback of the future. That's what I believe they'll do with that second overall pick. This is definitely the best landing spot out of all the coaches. Indianapolis mercifully fired Chuck Pagano about 2 years too late. This is one I don't feel confident if I am a coaching candidate to go to. Why? Simply, I don't know the health of the quarterback. If Andrew Luck is injured, I don't want any part of this team. I wouldn't touch this team with a 10-foot pole. I would not go anywhere near it. No offensive line, no running game, bad defense. You're basically starting from scratch. So unless you have a word from the owner, Jim Irsay, that I can stay here for a couple more years and not even be worried about being fired before I can fully rebuild this team, then I would do it, but I need to see full medicals and Andrew Luck first. Next and finally is the Arizona Cardinals. Bruce Arians did not get fired. He had retired. This was rumored for a couple of years. His health was not really that great. So he's retiring. This is one of the oldest teams in the NFL. I think you have good defensive pieces in Patrick Peterson, Tyrann Mathieu, and Chandler Jones, who led the league in sacks this year. Offensively, you have Larry Fitzgerald, David Johnson, who unfortunately missed most of the year. They're going to be starting over. They don't have a quarterback. Carson Palmer just retired. They're not going to be picking high in the draft. They're right in the middle of the draft. So I would either try to pursue someone in free agency if I'm the Cardinals. And if I'm the coach, I'm definitely encouraging that. I think the offensive line needs to be put back together. Other than that, I think this team has really good pieces to really compete in the NFC West, based on the fact that David Johnson's the best dual threat back in the league, and you have some form of defensive talent. So after all that, the whole thing is over. I want to talk about some coaches that I thought should have been fired and were not. Let's start with the Browns, who went 0-16. Hooray! Yay! You win a trophy! Yay! You win a trophy! Here you go. 0-16. The imperfect season. How do you feel about Cleveland? You're one of only 2 teams to ever manage to do that. And you kept the head coach in Hugh Jackson, who, everything I hear, has a big head and ego. And you can definitely hear that in this press conference. No one else can do this kind of stuff. Oh, really? No, Rob Malinelli actually did. Yeah, exactly. He didn't leave. He didn't quit his team. They fired him. And they should have fired you as well, because quite frankly, you're not a good head coach. Okay, I'm sorry, but Hugh Jackson's not a good coach. 1-15 his first year, 0-16 the next year, 8-8 in Oakland. He has a combined record of 9 wins. 9 wins and 39 losses. This guy's not a good head coach. I'm sorry, he's not. Okay, I don't think he's got the personality to be a head coach. And people want to come at me and say, oh, well, the roster's not good. The roster was good enough to win 4 games, and you won 0. 0 games. And your offense sucked. Purely sucked. And I know you don't really have much, but you had a chance to win the game. You're not mentally, and they were not mentally ready. They checked out in most games. This guy should have been fired. Plain and simple. It's inexcusable. That's Cleveland football for you. And the second one I want to get to because this is actually comedically hilarious. So a couple weeks ago, a report came out that Marvin Lewis was going to leave the Cincinnati Bengals and pursue other coaching means. Now, I want to point out that Marvin Lewis is the second most tenured coach in the NFL, only behind Bill Belichick. He's been head coach for 15 years. And instead of, letting him go out, instead of that, they extend him for 2 years. Holy shit, that is a problem. That is hysterical. That is so Bengals. Okay, let me point out here that the record of this guy, he's got 115 wins in 15 years. He's missed the playoffs more than he's made it, and he's 0-7 in the playoffs. He has not won a playoff game. And he still consistently has a job. It's over, okay? Mike Brown, it's over. This guy should have been gone a long-ass time ago. And yet kept him. This is why the Bengals don't win anything. And this is why the Bengals are consistently made fun of. It's because of stupid bullcrap like this. I don't think they care. I don't think Mike Brown really goddamn cares. I think all he cares about is the money in his pocket and how can I nickel and dime this team to the point that I can walk away with the most profit. It's disrespectful to the Bengals fans. It's disrespectful to the Bengals fans. It's disrespectful to Marvin Lewis, I think, because I think Marvin Lewis wanted to leave, but they just kept him for more money. I think it's disrespectful to some of the players because, a new voice can actually bring something in. And I think, quite frankly, it's disrespectful to Paul Brown, your father, Mike, that you kept this guy. That's going to do it for me here for the Football Report for the first episode. Tune in a little bit later, and I'll preview the wild card games. Oh, God. Good luck, Cincinnati. You're going to need it.